Back in the Flash. Yep, that joke's still bad. Hey guys, Mikey here, and welcome to the Comic Junkies Corner. So, today's episode is about The Flash. Season 1, because I've only ever seen Season 1. That's the only season that's on Netflix. Season 2 will be coming out, depending on when you see this video. It might be next month, or it might be this month. So, it just depends on when this video comes out. But I wanted to talk about The Flash because it's one of my favorite DC TV shows. It's not quite up there with Batman the Animated Series and Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, but it's pretty darn close. It's probably ranking about 4th or 5th on my favorites, so Arrow will probably be right on its heels or whatever, but it's amazing that Flash kind of won me over in one season where Arrow took me. Well, I was kind of invested in Arrow, but it didn't win me over probably until like halfway through the second season. So, but yeah, it's a very interesting show. I feel like it's a very good show. And you're first introduced to Barry in Arrow, actually, because he comes over to help investigate something that's going on in Arrow, and then you go and all of a sudden you see what happens to him to where he becomes Flash, where he's struck by lightning in his lab or his home/lab. But yeah, he's struck by lightning, and then he's in a coma for a very long time. In, I guess I could say in Arrow time, it was a very long time. In Flash time, not to make a bad joke, but it was a pretty quick transition because he got hit by lightning, and then I think there was quite a few episodes before like you actually found out that he was awake, so he was asleep for quite some time. He is held by Star Labs, and they help him develop his powers. There is one person in particular who helps him build up his powers and stuff like that. It helps him control them better and everything. And I should have probably mentioned this earlier on. I'm going to get into heavy spoilers, so if you haven't seen Flash, go watch it. Literally, spend the $7, watch it, binge watch it, and like I said in Arrow, like if you choose to end it at the end of the month, that's entirely up to you. But yeah, it's just yeah, definitely. Or if you don't care about spoilers, go ahead and keep watching, and come back to this video if you don't want to be spoiled. Go watch it, come back, and then all is well. So anyway, let's get back to it. So, like I said, he's being helped by a person. I'm not going to mention his name yet because he's revealed to be somebody else. So, so yeah, but he's helped. He tries to be this superhero for the most part, and he's aided in becoming this superhero. And there was one thing that I didn't really talk about in Arrow that I'll talk about in Flash, because I'd seen it so much in Arrow that when I saw it in Flash, it kind of annoyed me a little bit, and that was like the whole like secrets thing. Everybody's got secrets, and everyone's being so mad at Barry. He's just like, you know, his quote unquote best friend, who they're really into each other, but it's one of those like no one wants to say anything, no one wants to be that first person, and then it not work out, and then one person not feel the other same way and stuff, or you know, so they're kind of like that kind of boy and girl best friend type thing. They're not like true boy and girl best friend where there's just like everything's kind of platonic. And I feel like maybe there's some sexual tension between males and females automatically, but it's just sometimes like it's very much like way in the back of your mind, like you will not even know it, whatever, unless it's like a family member or something. So just, you know, it's like a family member, you probably like, it's when you view family members very differently than you view people outside of your family. So like family members, yeah, you're going to feel one way about them, but people outside of your family, it's like you're going to have that sexual tension regardless of which. You're just going to have it, but it's probably going to be in the back of your mind somewhere, and like you may view a person as a sister, or you may view a person as a brother. It's kind of up in the air, but you know, it never, like, You know, I'm getting way off topic here. Okay, I'm getting way off topic. I am talking about like some psychology type stuff. I don't need to be talking about that. I'm not qualified to talk about that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about comics, damn it. So, so anyway, so some of the things that I really like in The Flash, probably the villains. The villains are awesome. Captain Boomerang is a complete badass. I didn't even expect Captain Boomerang to be a badass. It was just one of those things that was just like they found a way to make a person who throws boomerangs a badass, and I was just like, wow. So he appears in both Arrow and The Flash, so it's really cool when you see him and everything, and how he works. I mean, granted, the one in Suicide Squad was a badass, but he's used as more comic relief. Comic Captain Boomerang's always been that kind of comic relief. And a lot of the villains in Flash know this, and as far as like their personalities, probably Cold and what's the other guy? The other guy that controls the fire. I can't remember what his name is, but those guys, the guys from Prison Break. If you watched Prison Break, they're the guys from Prison Break. They are hilarious. They are absolutely hilarious. They are hamming it up every chance they get, just being that over the top villain that just has you can tell the actors just have a ball playing these guys, and it's like every time you see them, you just laugh. I mean, there's a sense of like urgency with them. Don't get me wrong, like they're doing bad stuff, but they're so fun to watch. It's like it's so odd how the contrast is, and they acknowledge the contrast between Arrow and the Flash. There's a lot of meta humor in the Arrowverse with the Arrow and the Flash, and like how Starling City is like just a city over basically, and then you have Central City, and like the two cities are like they're like Gotham and Metropolis for the most part. You have this dark, brooding city like where everything is crime and just vigilantism and stuff like that, and is Arrow doing the right thing? We don't know, or anything like that. Whose side is he really on? Should we be afraid of him? And so the hero's not even really the hero there, and everything's so dark and grim, and everyone's frowning, they're all mad and stuff like that. And then you go over to Central City, everyone's laughing, literally. Like there's just things where like somebody will say something that's funny, and they'll actually laugh. It will actually be like something will happen that I feel like you would laugh at in real life, but movies and TV shows don't necessarily have that sense of comedy to where it's just like, okay, something will happen, and like we, the audience, will crack up, but the people in the scene won't, because like, okay, they're dedicated to the scene and everything, and I get that. But there's times where it was just like, if I saw this in real life, I would die laughing, and that happens in Flash. I really appreciate that. I was just like, oh, it humanizes these people, so they're not they're not stiff, but they're also just very. And don't get me wrong, when they're in the scene, they dedicate themselves to the scene and everything. And there's situational humor that outside looking in is funny, but there's also situational humor that occurs, and the characters acknowledge that this is funny. This is what happened. Is just funny, and they'll laugh about it. So I always kind of like that. It's one thing I really liked about Arrow. But it's kind of like that. Like I said, it was kind of like that Gotham and Metropolis relationship. Everything's so dark and brooding over in Gotham, and then you go to Metropolis, everything's light-ish. You have your Lex Luthors, you have your your villains that will just really try the hero and push them to a point where like they go down dark roads and stuff like that. But then most of the villains aren't that way, and I think it's a cross between, how Arrow and Batman deal with a lot of crime bosses and just street crime and stuff like that, whereas Superman and Flash and these metahumans stuff, they deal with metahumans, other super villains and stuff. Like, as scary and as crazy as the Joker is a person. he is a man. He is flesh and blood, which kind of arguably makes him more scarier. But like, he's a man. He can, if really wanted to, he can be killed, even though he should have been killed in a lot of instances. But he still managed to survive somehow. But anyway, they're the metahumans. They can take hits. They can take all kinds of they can do all kinds of things and have all of these abilities and stuff. So it puts it at another level. So I feel like, a supervillain, how would a supervillain really act? How would you act as a supervillain? Would you just would you ham it up as a super? It makes you wonder, like, okay, because we don't actually have supervillains in real life that we know of. So you just kind of like, how would this person act? Would it seem as cheesy as it is? And it really is. As I said, it kind of works for the show because the show is much, much lighter. You have you have dark moments, don't get me wrong, and I'm getting to the dark moment in a little bit, but you have a lot of just fun, and you have a lot of Barry learning. And now I'm going to get into something here, and this is a heavy spoiler for the show, but the person that's been helping out Barry all this time is the Reverse Flash in disguise. The Reverse Flash came back in time to kill Barry. The Future Flash came back to stop him from killing young Barry. Young Barry is a kid. And the Reverse Flash was so pissed off, he killed his mom in retaliation. But because of that, he wasted so much dang time. And I think there was something else that happened. He couldn't get back to his future time, so he took over somebody's. He used the technology from the future to make himself look like somebody else, and eventually just took this guy's place. So, he realized in order to get back home, he has to help the Flash. The one thing, he went back to stop Flash from existing, and he realized the only way he could get home was to help the Flash exist. So it was really interesting to see that, and to know this person is he hates Flash, but in a sense, you start to wonder about this. You're just kind of does he hate Flash? He's spent so much time with him and acted as a mentor to him. And, like I said, the Reverse Flash always hated him, but he kind of developed this, I might like you a little bit now. Whoever has seen Major Payne, it was kind of like that. He was just he's looking at everyone. He's just like, baby, y'all aren't turds I thought you were. Maybe I kind of like you. Maybe. So it's it's one of those. He grew on him a little bit, which is, it's understandable. Okay, you spend so much time with a person, regardless of whether you dislike this person or not, you start to, and you're playing this role of a person who likes Barry for the most part. You're playing this role of a mentor to him and everything. You're just kind of it made you question his feelings. Even he questioned his feelings towards the end of it and everything, which I thought was really interesting. I'm glad they acknowledged that and everything. So, because if he played it so perfectly and then just, automatically is no, I've always hated you and stuff like that. So, it probably would have been fine. But the fact that he was able to really kind of dial down on his feelings, wow, I don't think I hate you as much as I thought I did. Just one of those things. Granted, he was still the villain. He was still the bad guy. Still wanted bad things to happen to Barry, but I'm not sure that he wanted. He was conflicted. I'll just put it that way. I'll just make it nice and simple. He was conflicted. He still had his goals and stuff that he wanted to do, but he was very conflicted. So anyway, part of his him training the Flash means he had to create the Flash. And granted, the Flash was supposed to have been created much later. He generated this experiment that caused an explosion at Star Labs, and he created the Flash earlier in order to be able to get home earlier, obviously. But in doing that, he created a lot of metahumans, and that's what the Flash has been going around trying to stop the bad guys, the bad metahumans that use their powers for, evil deeds and stuff. And, so you get like I said, you get these over the top villains who are just awesome. Like, but and you get like villains like Cold is a human. Cold isn't he just has guns. He has cold guns, I think, that are actually stolen from Star Labs. So you have a slight love story going on between like I said, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, you have a slight love story going on between Barry and his best friend. Can't remember her name. I'm sorry. I am terrible with names. I'm going to go ahead and go on record saying that I am terrible with names. I'm lucky I remember my own. If I had just watched it, now I had finished watching it probably back in July. July is when I stopped watching it. So this is now September as I'm filming this, probably maybe late September, October when you see it. So like my memory's not that great. So like I said, there's this little love story going on. You kind of want it to go somewhere, and then there's times where you're just kind of like, okay, it's just kind of, it's not really all that important that it does happen. But it's sometimes you gotta admit it's kind of cute to just see them together and everything like that. But I'm not really that big of a fan of love stories. Maybe that's just because I'm not. I don't know. Maybe because I'm single. Maybe that's why. I don't know. I don't know why. Like I'm not a big fan of like love stories and stuff like that. So like when they kind of don't really have them that much in the show, if the show doesn't focus on it, then I'm kind of okay with it. That's just my thing in general. But anyway, I guess I'll get towards the end, because the end is probably the most heart-wrenching episode. And this is when Flash has the opportunity, the present Barry Allen has the opportunity to go back to the past and stop his mother from being killed. And in turn, by doing this and opening this portal, the Reverse Flash can go back home. And it was kind of like almost encouraged, like, hey, stop me from killing her, because I don't remember what his exact words were, but he was just like, save your mom because she deserves that, or something like that. You deserve a better life and stuff. So, like I said, like, he was very conflicted. I mean, he had his own motives. Don't get me wrong. He had his own motives of wanting to do what he was going to do. The main goal was for him to get back to his own time. That was his main goal. But saving Barry's mother was just kind of one of those, like, it's, it's kind of like, I'm eating two-thirds of a cheesecake, and I'm too full to eat the other one, so here, you can have it. So there you go. That's pretty much what the plan was like and everything. But when he goes back to save his mom, the Flash, present Flash, goes back to save his mom, you see the Flash and Reverse Flash fighting, and the future Flash, like the present Flash, I should say, he's standing there at the door. He's ready to rush in and save his mom when the future Flash takes little boy Barry outside to safety. But, and this is probably going to be, you're probably going to know about this in future seasons, but the future Flash sees him and knows he's there and sees him and says, no, don't. And then he grabs Barry and runs outside. And the present day Flash listens. And you have to understand, like, how hard that must have been for him to take that advice, because like, okay, he says, like, don't do it. There's a reason that the future Flash would say, do not save your mother's life. There's got to be some serious reason for that. if I were to go back and tell myself to not save my mother's life, there's got to be some huge consequences for this. I would never, otherwise, like, present me, I would never say that. But if if my future self told me, I'm like, I would have to, because there's got to be some huge consequence behind it. And he feels that, he knows that, and he closes the door because he can't watch. He can't, but you hear it. You hear, like, the Reverse Flash stab his mother, and you hear, like, you hear the piercing of it. You hear her scream, and just, you see the pain in his eyes and his expression and everything. And I'm not even gonna lie, I teared up hard. I mean, I cried for the most part, because honestly, it hit an emotional note for me, because there was something that happened in my life that was kind of similar, and with my, not similar, but like, there was something in my life when my grandmother passed. And I won't go into detail about what happened, but I felt for him. Like, the opportunity, if I had the opportunity to go back and save my grandmother, I sure as hell would. And if I knew at that current point in time that something bad was going to happen, like, the future me tells me, do not save her. Something really bad is going to happen if you do. And I have to, like, to sit there and just let her die. It would just destroy me. It would absolutely destroy me. And so I felt that. The opportunity to go back and save her, and just, I can't, because there's something bigger at stake here, and I have to just let it happen. That would destroy me. And then he goes in after it happens and everything, and he's consoling his mother. And as she's laying there dying, and she's like, it's going to be okay, and he takes off his mask. I think he takes off his mask, and he's like, it's me, your son, Barry. I want you to know that everything's going to be okay. And, I'm going to be this great, you don't have to worry, so it's heart-wrenching scene. Seriously, heart-wrenching scene. So eventually he comes back to the present, and he's just like, no, and he punches. He's got a lot of anger inside, obviously, but he stops the Reverse Flash from going home. To what end, I don't know, but I guess that's going to be revealed in the future season. And season 1 ends off on a cliffhanger, because the wormhole that he opens creates this black hole, and he has to try to close it, so he's using his speed to try to close it and everything like that. So that's how the season ends. So I'm definitely excited to see season 2, but it ended off on a note, man. It was just kind of like, and you're like, during like the fight scene, I'm just like, go Flash, kick his ass, man, kick his ass. I just tissue. So I was just, it hurt to see that scene. Actors, writers, directors, everyone that was a part of making that, good job, man. Good job, because that was emotional. I honestly, to be perfectly honest, don't think I could watch it again. That particular episode, I don't think that I could. Hopefully they don't do one of those recaps in season 2, because then I'll be forced to kind of watch it again. But it won't have the same impact as seeing everything that led up to it and the aftermath and everything. So definitely excited to see season 2. So this show was a lot of fun. It had its emotional moments. It knew when to be serious. It knew when to be funny. It knew when to allow its characters to be in the moment, in my personal opinion, because just be self-aware. Put it that way. It allowed the characters to be self-aware, and a lot of movies and shows don't do that, because that's not really the norm. But it allowed these characters to be self-aware, to laugh at something, or to just kind of like acknowledge that something is off and something is weird, and just like, it's funny how that's kind of working, isn't it? Be very meta, just go ahead and go with it, break the fourth wall at times. So but not in like a Deadpool sense, but just like a few times, just kind of acknowledging that something is just odd or off or funny. So I really enjoyed the show, so I'm definitely excited to see season 2. As it comes out October, I think 16th or 26th. Sometime in October it is going to be coming out, so I'm not going to be able to watch it probably until the winter break, because I'm in school right now. So them's the breaks, huh? Got prioritize and stuff to deal with. So anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts. What did you guys think of Flash Season 1 if you saw it? Hopefully you did, because it spoiled the crap out of it. So, whatever you guys think, or, who are your favorite characters, what's your favorite episode, put it in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. Let's open a discussion. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, at Mr. McBlam. Don't forget to follow my buddy JJ's blog, 4comicjunkies.blogspot.com. Follow him on Twitter, at 4comicjunkies. And, yeah. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. And I will see you in the next video.